Thanks so much for tuning in to this week's episode of Open Mic with Mac. My name is Michaela Patton, and I am the founder of this podcast. I am really excited for you guys to get to know this week's special guest. He is a good friend of mine and an extremely talented musician. He has traveled across the country touring with his band, and he is very well known across the tri-state area. He's been recognized for his work in the Cranston Dean Band and as a solo artist. So it is with great pleasure I introduce Cranston Dean. Hello. How's it going?
Good. Sorry I'm late.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Thank you for joining me.
Really excited. I've watched every single one of these so far, and
thank you.
Really good company. So thanks for putting me on.
Oh, it's a pleasure. So for those who are tuning in for the first time that may not know you, Cranston is a very well-known musician across the tri-state area, as well as other major cities too across the country. He books gigs constantly. He's always playing shows, and he even hosts an open mic night, not to be confused with Open Mic with Mac, at a bar locally where he helps other local musicians showcase their talents weekly. So when quarantine kind of went into effect, Cranston, how did that affect you, and how did you utilize the internet to continue performing?
Well, when quarantine went into effect, all of that stopped, obviously. So the internet kind of just became, I've been doing live streaming on nights that I was bored before COVID started. So I kind of just naturally went and just live streamed the first night that we were on that lockdown.
Yeah.
And just kind of kept doing that. But yeah, all the things you mentioned before, I mean, I also teach music. So all the lessons were, one day we were there and the next day we were gone.
Yeah.
I've heard you say that with a couple of the other guests, you know, talking about production, and you guys were in on a Thursday, and then it was just kind of like,
yeah, everyone come home.
When we see you. So there was a lot of that. So at the beginning, I mean, I've also heard you say, oh, everyone thought it was going to be like 2 weeks and then we'd be back at it. So
well, that's what we were told, right? It was 2 weeks and that's it.
At the beginning, and that made it seem like, oh, cool. Like this is like a scary vacation. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like a staycation, but it's like, mm-hmm. I could do 2 weeks.
Yeah,
like,
it's not that bad.
There wasn't as much uncertainty, but when that line went over the 2 week line, I think everybody in the creative world, everyone in the world that was out of work was just kind of like, oh boy, what do we do?
Yeah.
What do we do now? And so, yeah, like in the beginning, I was just doing live streams to kind of pass time for me and catch up with buddies that might be online. But then I kind of got bored and I missed booking things. So I figured I would try to put online shows together that featured a band from a different state. And so I had some bands from North Carolina, Maine, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Tennessee, Virginia, and Jersey, and California. And we did this thing live in the USA with just little things like that, because there really wasn't at the beginning all that much to do. Yeah. Or if you didn't have the capabilities, like I was just live streaming out of a phone, so the sound quality is not as good. So for a while, there was just a lot of that, taking whatever odd gig would come during the summer and painted the house. And I finally got to go up to Maine in the past couple weeks and recorded an album, a solo album, this one. But yeah, that was another thing that COVID just kind of put a break on, was the band and I were going to be recording at the start of the year. And it was like the week after COVID hit, we were supposed to be in the studio starting a whole different album.
Yeah, but I remember Tyler was supposed to go, and it was like the week that everything got shut down. So he was telling me, we're going to go to Maine. We're going to go for a couple weeks. It's going to be great. And then I was like, well, you know, our productions just got shut down. Is it safe for you guys to go? Like, nobody really knew what the heck was going on. And then you guys ended up not going.
Yep.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I felt like that trip got pushed back every month.
Yeah.
Until I finally went. And I mean, I did a 2 week quarantine before going, and now that I'm back, I'm not, you know, just kind of at home again. But
Right. So we'll talk a little bit about your album in a second. I wanted to ask as well, I know for me as a writer, just because this year has been so hard and there hasn't been much going on, how have you found, I guess, inspiration to continue writing songs, and where have you been pulling inspiration from?
well, I was kind of already at a point where I was like, I don't want to just write like there's already a million love songs, you know what I mean? So I don't want to write like just, you know, I find it to be kind of tacky. So I was already trying to remove like even like gender out of my songs, as
Hmm,
weird as that might be.
that's not
I
weird.
found that like in a lot of my older songs, a lot of the time, um, the antagonist in the song would be a female, and then the
Hmm.
protagonist would be a male view. So I've been trying to take that out as much as I can, and to write about things that um, aren't written about as much. So 2020, in its own weird way, certainly gave us a lot to think about. Because I mean, what a wild COVID, if that didn't happen and we went back to normal, I mean, how normal would the world really be?
Right. There's so many other things going on
So,
as well right now. Yeah.
so I mean, yeah, I don't know if that helps answer that, if I answered that question
No, it
properly, but
did. Just you're pulling from real life situations, real things that are going on. It's perfect.
yeah, and wow, there's a lot now that you think about it to
I
write
know.
about.
Oh my gosh, I know.
But then also, I think a lot of creatives when it started were just kind of like, oh, this like sense of uncertainty. Like I feel like a lot for me, I like to write from at least a comfortable place of certainty. So it's like I might be grasping at parts of myself that feel uncertainty, but
Hmm.
it usually comes on a day when I'm feeling good about life, I'm feeling
Mm.
good about myself, and then that's when a song will usually come. Um, and there really wasn't that for most of COVID. There's just been like a lot of uncertainty. So I
Which is
know
so
I'm
relatable too, though. It's everybody's
definitely,
feeling that way.
I don't think it was like a good creative place, but it definitely was a place for me personally. It wasn't a good creative place, but it definitely, you live through something and you're going to take that with you whenever you go. So I'm sure anybody who didn't get any writing or a lot of writing done during COVID, they'll have that experience to always kind of look back on, and they'll always take it with them. But yeah, I gotta thank the people in your industry because I was very unproductive in the beginning of it, and I just watched so much television and movies. So thanks, guys.
Oh yeah, you got it. So since you brought up your new album, can you give us some juicy details on what we can expect? Do we have a name for the album or kind of what it's about?
I don't have a name for the album. It's when I say it's country, I don't want it. It's not like Luke Combs or Georgia Florida Line or whatever. It's like Willie Nelson esque country.
Okay.
Um, like I said before, I had a whole nother album that I was already going to do with the band, and we already were ready to start that. And we couldn't get together all in, like, I've seen Ike Boy, just me and Ike Boy, and I've seen Riley, and that's the bass player and the guitar player in my band. But we
Hmm.
haven't seen the drummer yet because he's down in Philly. So we haven't been able to do the full band album. So when I went up there, uh, I've always wanted to make an album where I play all the instruments. So I kind of did that. So I
That's
did all the
that's dope.
drums and the bass and piano and threw some mandolin on there. And yeah, um, again, back to like that whole not trying to write about love thing. One song, the first song is called Drunken Buddha. And it's just about that person that you meet out at the bar and they're like, oh, you work in television? You know what you should do? And you're like, why are you giving me this? Why are you giving me this advice, you crazy
Yeah,
person?
what do you know about that?
You know about that. And then the next track's a tune called The Dead Don't Go Out Dancing, which I wrote before this all happened, but it's just kind of like a reminder to myself or to whoever's listening to kind of go have fun, because when it all wraps up, I think it's over.
Yeah.
But just songs like, none of them deal with love, and a little bit more abstract on the lyrics than I've done in the past, and just trying to stuff that's a little funnier too, the little jokiness in there. But
I'm excited. I can't wait for you to release it. Do you have an idea of when it's gonna come out?
I just have to get it mixed and mastered now, so that's not going to take terribly long. I want to get it out in 2020, just
Okay.
because like I feel like looking back in history, anytime you see 2020, people are going to go, "Oh yeah, I remember that year."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're going to remember that being an uphill battle of
Yeah.
a year. So I want to get it out in 2020. But when I do, I talked to Tyler, and he said I could put it out on Thriving Era like we did with the last one first.
Yeah.
So for any of you watching Open Mic with Mac, just make sure you like and subscribe to Thriving Era if you are interested in that new album of mine, and it'll come out on Thriving Era first.
Yeah, subscribe everyone. I
Waiting
wanted
for content.
I wanted to also ask you, why do you choose Maine to go up and record? What is the backstory to that? And you guys seem to love Maine. I'm curious.
I've always loved Maine. The band's loved Maine. So my father's family is from up there, and so I've always gone up there my whole life. They've been up in this town, Lincolnville, since the 1700s, and I'm the first person in my family who's never lived in that town. So it's like a
Wow.
long, long love for that place. But then, if I had never been there before, we went up to play this town called Rockland, Maine, and we just kind of synced up with this musical family up there. And when I mean musical family, I mean like everybody in this family sings or plays something. It's incredible. They're
That's so
all
cool.
phenomenal. And one of the members is really good at running sound, our friend Michael. And so he would always run sound for us when we were up in New England. And then it just kind of over the years turned into we're working with him as the recording engineer. And yeah, the place is beautiful. Like you guys, I know you and Tyler were up in Maine
I went
at some
for,
point, right?
yeah, my first time. You brought me for my first time ever. We went in July, and I can see why you guys love it so much. I mean, it's beautiful there. It's very peaceful. So as a creative, it would probably be a really nice place to kind of just lose yourself and write or record or do whatever it is that you want to do. Because yeah, it is really nice up there.
It's a laid back style of life for people that work very hard. Like Mainers are hard working people, but
A
they
lot of
also know like,
outdoorsy things, a lot of fishing, manual
yup,
labor. Yeah, it's very woodsy. Woodsy
very
there.
self-reliant people up there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I like it up there a lot. I love Jersey too, but after the whole being stuck inside the house, especially, I was like, I can't wait to go
Get
sit
me
in
out.
somebody else's house and then go sit in the studio for hours and hours and hours. But
Yeah, that makes
change
sense.
scenery.
So for people that are aspiring musicians or songwriters or just fellow creatives that are tuning in, do you, knowing what you know now about this year, do you have any advice for them to maybe continue on with the rest of this year? Any words of encouragement?
Yeah, I mean, for anybody that is trying to be creative and not necessarily try to make it a career, just keep after it. Like, definitely do it. Why not? It's just going to make your life more fulfilling. And for anybody who's trying to make it a career, I think for musicians especially, we need to figure out ways to have more of an online platform. I mean, like there should be more musicians. I think with podcasts is one thing, because when we just saw live entertainment just kind of dry up, I think I certainly need to get a whole setup like you guys got over there, where you can get a nice quality recording, because you need to be able to give people content one way or another. But I think anything in art just comes down to like you gotta let it go eventually, right? You
Hmm.
gotta like put it out there. You could stress over the final edit over one of your movies for 3 years and maybe bring it to the point where you want, or you can get it out and make more art.
Yeah,
And I don't know, make more art, I guess, is my advice.
that is good
Or
advice.
see Caleb Emery's video. He had good advice for that.
Well, I mean, even with the Live in the USA, how you said you had different artists and stuff from all over the country, it was so great that you did that because Tyler and I can't tell you how many nights we sat there and we just like watched and we would, have our wine or whatever it was. And it was like, we loved it. We looked forward to it because we weren't doing anything else and people missed live music. So, in a sense, that kind of was like your little podcast. You created something wonderful.
It was a lot of fun doing that. And that is one like positive thing I think through this whole year-long experience has been like, we were separated and all kind of not able to see each other, but thanks to like the internet, we all knew we were doing the same exact thing. Like nobody's like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm missing out on a great time. Everyone's like, nah, don't worry, we're all chilling and doing it.
Yeah, there was no FOMO this year for sure.
That was nice. That was like a
Yeah.
bit of unity amongst all the disunity.
So, Cran, where can we support your work? If people tuning in would like to stream your albums or maybe buy some merch, where can they do that?
Awesome question. You could find it at cranstondean.com. You could also, a bunch of my works here on the Thriving Era page, including my last full band album is on here. And you can look, all my albums are on YouTube. One of them's on Spotify because I just get lazy and grumpy at streaming platforms, but that's another episode. But yeah, just type in Cranston Dean on most platforms, you'll find it. I should be the only Cranston Dean. Strange enough name that
I think you are the only
I think
Cranston
I
Dean
should
that
have it.
pops up. All right. So, moving forward, the charity that Cranston chose this week is the Clearwater Foundation. Their mission is to preserve and protect the Hudson River and other surrounding bodies of water. So, Cran, I'm going to pass the mic to you to elaborate a little bit more about what this foundation is doing and if you could kind of tell us why you chose this.
Absolutely. So the Clearwater Foundation is a foundation that was started, I believe, in the 70s with the help of Pete Seeger.
Mm-hmm.
And for anybody who doesn't know who Pete Seeger is, he's an absolute legend in American folk music, activism, and then just climate. Like, so three things that I think are really important to me: music and passing music on, the environment, because it's the only one we got, and then obviously social issues, because they need to be addressed and talked about in this country.
Yep.
And Clearwater Foundation kind of has a way of doing all of that at once. And it started as a way to, the Hudson River in the 70s obviously was probably not the best water quality. The Hudson River down by the city obviously is never gonna be, because it's
Right.
next to one of the biggest
Yep.
cities in the whole world. But the idea was they bought a sailboat, a sloop, and they called it the Hudson River Sloop Clearwater, and they based it in Beacon, New York, which is up the river maybe about an hour and a half north of the city. And it's based there, and they'll sail up and down the river, out of the river. They've come to where we live here in Monmouth County, New Jersey, and they'll bring a crew, and they come off and they do like different educational programs, whether it's like teaching kids about like horseshoe crabs and just a wide variety of things. They'll also take people on sails throughout. So that is kind of how that got started, this sloop going around. And then it branched out. They started doing a music festival called the Clearwater Music Festival. And it's just gotten bigger and bigger. Pete Seeger passed away years ago at a very old age. But I think it's really cool that that thing still goes on. When I was a kid, my dad took me down because they had the Clearwater was right in the harbor, so we went down and I got to see that as a little kid, and
that's
I just thought
awesome.
it was so cool. Old man Pete and his banjo was there. So. Yeah, so if you do check out the Clearwater Foundation, I chose it because I live on the water near the Hudson, like on a waterway that's connected to the Hudson River. So it's all really the same. It's all coming in and out of New York Harbor.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little tidal, and yeah, obviously the environment is all we got, and I think it needs bigger protection. And I kind of chose Clearwater because it covers, like I said, a wide variety of issues.
Yeah, they
But I
have
would
a
love
bunch
to
of
give an
things.
honorable mention to Plastic Waves Project, which is a local environmental group here. I think it's important what they're doing, just explaining to people the dangers of single-use plastics and how quickly that gets put right into the ocean and how long it takes to biodegrade. So honorable mention to them.
Yeah.
And with the Clearwater as well, with their music, they kind of keep a lot of traditional folk music going as a part of the whole experience and part of Pete Seeger's legacy, I think. And I would love to give an honorable mention to the Project Matters, which is a local group that tries to provide music lessons. They'll fund recording, provide younger musicians with instruments, whatever they can do to help young artists in Monmouth and Ocean County get up. And I think it's important to support like local, wherever you're listening from. I think you should look at your local charities because I think it's a lot easier for them to take what they get and apply it versus sometimes when it goes up into this big charity, how it's a little harder to trickle down. So the
Yeah.
little guy charities are what I like.
Yeah, it's so important. I mean, big change starts at home too. So this foundation is awesome because they helped with the Clean Water Act, which all of our waterways kind of connect to the Hudson, the bigger river. And even now, I mean, like this summer, I would get notifications like the water sometimes wasn't the best to swim in. They would say like high fecal matter or, oil. And because we have so many ferries and boats coming in and out, it's still something that we struggle with as locals here to try to clean up our water. And the Plastic Wave Foundation does an awesome job. They do beach cleanups. So if you live in Monmouth County, you should check them out. You can find them on Facebook, Instagram. I believe they have a website. um, don't quote me on that. They may not. um, but yeah, the Clearwater Foundation is great. There's so many different tabs on their website. If you want to click the link in my Instagram bio, you can learn all about it. They're a nonprofit organization, so they do rely heavily on donations. But you can become an environmental advocate. You can take like educational classes, like Cranston said, and learn all about our oceans and our rivers and why they're so important, not just to enjoy on a hot summer day, but for our economy and our day-to-day life. Our water is so, so important.
Oh man.
It is. We got to save the planet.
Or at
I
least
laugh, but
hit the
I'm
brakes
serious.
a
Oh,
bit.
well, so Corinne, is there anything else that you want to touch on about this charity that you haven't already mentioned?
I can't wait till concerts come back, and I'm gonna go to the Clearwater Festival the next time it comes, and I
Yeah, that's
hope
exciting.
you all will too. You know,
I know, I want to check that out. That sounds really cool.
and yeah, and anybody just check out their website. Like Michaela said, they have a lot of tabs. I mean, one of the first things you'll see is, "Hey, what a great day!" This is not their words. These are my words. But what a great day for justice for Breonna Taylor. You know what I mean? Things
Yeah.
like that, where it's they stand on the right side of history, I believe, and so you can help the earth and also be within social issues,
Hmm.
music education, all in one spot, and
Yeah.
I think that's important.
Things that are important for sure.
Yeah.
So that link will be in my Instagram bio until next Thursday if you guys want to check it out, if you feel inclined to donate or just learn more. Cranston, is there anything about you that you would like to tell the viewers that we haven't already touched on?
Well, I didn't tell them how nervous I was to jump on my friend Michaela's podcast
Oh my
today, but
gosh. Why are you nervous?
because I'm in with a bunch of legends, yourself included, Mac.
Honestly, every week, like Tyler and I go through it. We do like a little like soft run through, and it doesn't get easier. Like each week, I'm like, all right, I did the same little outline every week, I still get just as nervous. Everybody is so talented. I'm like, oh, it makes me nervous to talk with you guys. So thank you for joining me and taking the time out of your day to, talk about you and this foundation that means so much to you.
It was my absolute pleasure, and I hope to see you when this is all over in real life.
I know it's been too long. All right. Well, you take care and thank you again.
Thanks, McKay. Hi, I'm Cranston Dean, and you're watching Open Mic with Mac.